Welcome to this practice, focusing on relieving any back pain you might have, especially in your low back. And that comes from a variety of different reasons, but we're going to work on our feet, we're going to work on our abs, work on our glutes, work on our quads and hamstrings, just so we can bring things into balance and hopefully help you to feel a lot better. So let's start on our backs. And first, just let your back rest on the floor. Just notice if it naturally rests on the floor or if there's an arc there. So with your knees bent and your feet down, ideally you should be able to get into this flat back where the low back is on the floor. And you could rest your hands on your belly or out by the side. I want you to see what my back is doing. So just begin to tilt your pelvis forward so you get that space, and then tilt your pelvis like towards, I guess you could say back towards your head to flatten the space. And just go back and forth. And you have the floor as a guide. Something to feel like is your back touching the floor. So when we shift our hips forward, this creates an anterior tilt space. And when we tilt our hips back, this creates a posterior tilt, so there's no space. And just see if you can do it nice and easily. And notice how your whole body moves when you do this. Good. Now walk your feet in a little bit closer to your hips if you can. Press into your big toe mound, press into your pinky toe mound, and press into the center of your heel. This is the tripod of your foot. So press those down strongly into the earth and squeeze your legs towards each other, lifting your hips up, floating up one vertebra at a time. Squeeze your glutes here. Don't let your butt drop and arch, but think of stretching your glutes towards your heels and then slowly lower down, keeping your hips lifted until the very last moment. And notice if they lower down evenly or if one side comes down first. And we'll do that a few more times. Pressing down, inhale to lift up. Squeeze and exhale to lower down. Try not to let your knees wander out to the sides. A couple more times on your own. Press down, squeeze in, squeeze the glutes, lift up. And exhale, keep your legs engaged as you slowly lower one vertebra at a time down. Noticing how your back feels as it touches the floor. Last one, press down, squeeze and lift up. Keep your legs active and slowly lower down. And just notice how you feel after that little activation. Now you can do that again, or if you're ready to challenge yourself more, you can do it with one leg. So bring your right leg up, point your toes, press your low back into the floor, and start to push into your left foot as you reach your right toes toward the sky. Try and keep the right hip at the same height as your left hip, and then slowly lower down. And here's where you'll feel it. Notice if your hips land together or the right hip lands first. And do that 2 more times. Press down to lift up. And slowly lower back down. It should feel like you're working fairly hard to do this. And one more time. Press down through your left foot, reach up through your right toes, come up nice and high, and then slowly lower down one vertebrae at a time. Nice, lower your right foot down, and we'll repeat, balancing on with the right leg doing most of the work. So reach your left leg up. Push into your right foot. Start to peel your back away from the floor, reaching up through your left toes. And then slowly lower back down. So my left hip came down a little bit too soon on that one. It was probably sagging in my left hip. So again, press down to lift up. And slowly lower down. Still reaching your toes toward the sky as you lower. One more time, press down to lift up. And slowly lower down. Trying to lower both hips at the same time. Then bend both knees, hug your knees into your chest, and circle your knees around your hips and your back, giving your back and your hips a little massage. And rock up to seated. Bring your feet as wide as your mat. Sit up nice and tall. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, twist your knees to the right and keep spinning around until you face the back of your mat, if possible. Inhale back up to center. Bring your left hand behind you. Pivot your knees to the left and reach your hands over to the left so that maybe your fingers are facing the back of your mat. Come back through center. And we'll just repeat that a couple more times. Moving nice and slowly. So you might notice you start to slide forward, so you can just push yourself back if that's happening to you. Nice, come back to center, pivot to the right, and keep spinning. See if you can keep a nice steady movement as you move from side to side. The last one. Good, come back to center. We're going to come onto our right side. So you can rest the right side of your head on your right hand. Line up your body so you're stacking your hips over each other. And now just lean that top hip slightly forward. So this would be even, this would be back. We want it forward. And start to lift your left heel up, the top heel up, and bring your leg behind you, even though your hips are rotating forward. And this internal rotation and lifting and lowering, you should feel your glutes work. And strong glutes really help to protect your back. And just lift and lower. You feel a squeeze right here near the top of your glutes. Try not to start to roll back. This doesn't have the same effect. But keep a little bit of a roll forward and your leg reaching back. And just lift and lower into resistance. Eventually your glutes should start getting a little tired. I noticed I was going kind of fast. So just set your pace where you can feel the work. Good, lower down, roll onto your belly. Bring your forearms to the floor, coming into Sphinx pose. Press the tops of your toes into the ground. Lift your belly up slightly off the floor so you come into a bit of a posterior tilt. Trying to lengthen out the low back. Grab the mat with your hands and isometrically pull your hands back towards your chest. Press your feet down, hug your legs in. And then relax into this pose. Trying to feel like your low back is more open than cramped. And now we'll roll onto the left side. Stack your right side of your left side and then tilt your right hip forward a little bit. Work the inner thigh, so you're drawing the inner thigh back to create an internal rotation, and then bring your foot back behind you a little bit and lift and lower. If you don't feel the glutes working, then modify a little bit. Maybe you need to bring your leg back a little further. Maybe you need to roll forward through your hip a little further. Find that place where you feel like you can feel the glutes firing up. Now, if you let your toes come up, that's way easier. You won't get the same effect as if you're turning the toes down, internally rotating. You want to do this until you feel at least a little bit fatigued. Last one, come back onto your belly, coming back into Sphinx pose. And feel your glutes working to draw your tailbone towards your heels. Slide your hands back, grip with your hands, and curl up, keeping the glutes nice and active, opening up here. Now, if you can only go this high before you start feeling pain in your low back, then just stay low. But if you can rise up and it feels good, come on up. Lift your hips up. Bring your knees apart and big toes together and sit back toward your heels in child's pose. Breathe into your back so your whole body expands, your whole back body expands as you inhale. And as you exhale, relax down. Bring your elbows back by your knees and interlace your fingers on the back of your head. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Tuck your chin and press your head up into your hands till you feel your whole back expand. Breathe nice and softly. Find just the right amount of tension, just the right amount of pressure, lifting your head up into your hands. Then release your hands. Notice how your head floats up. Naturally reach your arms forward. Come up onto your fingertips. Lift your hips up over your knees and sink your chest down as much as you can. So trying to get an opening, like an arch kind of opening in the upper back. Usually we round our spine, so we're doing just the opposite to balance things out. And start to lift up, walk your hands back, come back into your child's pose. And come up onto your hands and knees in tabletop. Try and hide your feet behind your legs so your feet are in line with your knees. Grip the mat with your finger pads and softly melt your belly toward the ground. Lifting your tailbone up, arching into your back. Lift your chin up. And then squeeze your tailbone down, rounding up to your spine. Push the floor away. Let your head relax. And just go back and forth between these cat-cows. You can add some isometric action to this. So as you inhale, isometrically drag your hands towards your knees, lifting your heart up. And as you exhale, isometrically press your hands away from your knees, rounding your spine. And just find like the right amount of effort so that you don't get overly tense. But we're trying to be strong and flexible. Good. Now bring your right hand behind your back on your sacrum, the middle of your back, just below your lowest vertebrae, and twist to your right and reach the right arm up without reaching your arm back, so just straight up out of your shoulder. And then thread your right hand underneath your left arm, reaching across before you lower your shoulder down and then your head down. You can stay here, or you could stretch your left leg back and your left arm forward. You could bring your left hand behind your back if you want. You could do big sweeping circles. And reverse the direction of your circles. Bring your hand down, bring your knee down, and twist to your right. Lower your right hand down, bring your left hand behind your back. Twist open to the left. And reach your left arm up and thread it underneath and across, reaching as far across as you can, lowering onto your shoulder first and then your head. And stay where you are, or stretch your right leg back, your right arm forward, or your right arm behind your back, or circles. And bring your hand back down and your knee back down. Take a big inhale to twist to your left. And lower your hands down, walk your hands forward, tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back into your down dog. And bend one knee at a time. So don't think of straightening your legs in down dog. Think of lifting up through your belly, reaching your hips back and getting your weight towards your heels with your knees bent. And if that feels good, then you can start to try and reach your heels down, pressing your thighs back so the knees follow that action instead of leading it. So it's not, we're not popping the knees back. We're trying to reach down through the heels, press your thighs back. So maybe there's even still a little soft bend in your knees. Lower your knees back to the floor and step your right foot forward. Walk your hands over to the left and open up, rolling onto the outside edge of the right foot, inverting your ankle, and then bringing your knee across, everting your ankle, letting the outside edge of the foot lift up. So just rolling back and forth. Then place your foot down, bring your hands to your thigh, spread the toes apart, and start to lean forward. Now you can always bring your hands to the floor. You might want to have yoga blocks or something that you can prop your hands up on. Try and keep this front heel down as you reach your front knee forward. Feel the big stretch in the back inner thigh. You can point your toes. You can activate your legs by hugging in. You can shift your weight a little bit from side to side. Then tuck your back toes, lift your back knee up. Straighten your front leg if you can, or you could bend one leg and then the other, but push your feet into the ground. Lift your belly away from your thigh and start to reach forward. You can internally and externally rotate your hips. Then bring your knee forward. Engage your legs, hugging in, and come on up into high lunge. Reach your arms up, crescent lunge. Back heels lifted. And squeeze your legs towards each other and lift up through your heart. Bring your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers, and reach your hands away. And lower your back knee down, release your hands, step back into tabletop. Move your hips around. Free form. Step your left foot forward. Walk your hands over to the right. And then open up, coming onto the outer edge of the left foot, and back to the inner edge, back and forth, inverting and everting your ankle. And walk your hands back. Bring your hands to the top of your thigh and start to reach your knee forward, trying to keep that heel down. Press into the top of the back foot, open up through your chest. Make any little minor adjustments that feel like, so that you're exploring this pose. And you're not just dropping into it and then tuning out, but instead you're diving in and really exploring. Then lower your hands to the floor, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee off the floor, and send your hips back. You can internally rotate, externally rotate. You could bend one knee at a time and then the other, or both legs straight. Then press your left knee forward, come on up, crescent lunge. Reach your arms up. And bring your hands behind your back again. Reach your hands back and away. Squeeze your inner thighs towards each other. And release your hands. Step back into your down dog. Walk your feet forward and come on into a squat. Lower your hips down. Press your hands together and press your elbows out into your knees. Squeeze your knees into your elbows. And try and find length through your spine. Lower your hips slowly to the ground and slowly make your way onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest and circle your knees around your hips in both directions. Shift your hips over to the right and open your arms out in a T shape. Bring your knees up so your knees and your hips are at 90 degrees. If this is too much, you can always kind of close the gap. And then twist over to your left with your legs. See if you can get all of your legs and your feet to the floor. You can always place a blanket or a towel or something to create space between your knees. That'll be a little bit less of a stretch. Turn your head away from your knees. Now, if you want to go deeper, if this isn't enough for you, you could try bringing your right knee forward so it lines up, it stacks up with the left knee. That will bring you into a much deeper twist, which may be what you want and maybe it's not what you need right now. So just play with wherever you're at. Squeeze your legs together. Come on back up. Place your feet down, shift your hips to the left, bring your legs back up, and twist your legs to the right. Twist your upper body over to the left. Let yourself relax here. And squeeze your legs together to come back onto your back. Stand to your hips and shoulders on the mat. Bring your feet as wide as the mat. And twist your knees to the right. Really reaching out, stretching out through that left leg. And come back through center and twist to the left. Go back and forth slowly. Go at your own pace, but don't go so fast that you kind of miss the experience. Focus on your breath, moving in and out through your nose. And even think of timing the movement of your legs with your breath. So one way of doing that would be to inhale your knees up to center and exhale your knees to the side. Then inhale back up to center and exhale to the other side. Now come back to center. Hug your knees into your chest. And we'll do a little short savasana. So stretch your legs out. Bring your arms out to the side a little bit so there's space between your hands and your hips. Have the palms facing up so your shoulders can relax on the ground. Let your feet flap open. A lot of times we have tension and pain in our back because we don't take time to relax. Because we're like on super drive, like really into this sympathetic state of our nervous system, that fight or flight. And so taking time to relax, even if you don't think you have time, is really important. And just let your breath relax you here. Now you can always stay here longer in your savasana, or you can bend your knees, roll over to your side, hug your knees in toward your chest, coming into like a fetal position. And use your hands to slowly come up to a comfortable seat. Take a moment to close your eyes. Let your shoulders relax down your back. Root your sit bones into the ground. Lift your heart up. Lengthen through the back of your neck, right from the top of your shoulders to the base of your skull. Lift up. And find all these dual energies moving in your body, lifting up, rooting down, floating up, relaxing down. Just reflect on your practice so that you can take something from this practice and bring it off the mat and into your daily life. Thank you for joining me. I hope your back feels pretty good. And it takes repetition, it takes discipline, it takes dedication to help you to feel really good. So please leave me a comment below, share this with your friends, and see you again soon. Bye.